Welcome, I'm Idaho State Representative Stephen Thane, and this is another session of Straight Talk with Thane.
Increasing tax revenue by increasing personal income only makes sense, since the government doesn't pay taxes. If you want more taxes, you need more personal income, or more income by the private sector. So, how do we generate more taxes for government programs? Simply, and at the same time increase personal incomes. Because government needs taxes to fund its programs, and people need incomes to fund their activities and their needs and wants. So how can both be increased? It's really very simple. Let's represent the economy with a pie. And this is a $50 billion pie, representing the size of the Idaho economy. And if all levels of government take about 50% of the pie in forms of taxes, and they do, then the federal government, the state government, local government gets about $25 billion, and the people get to keep about $25 billion. The way to increase taxes and personal incomes is to grow the size of the economic pie. A $70 billion pie would generate $35 billion in taxes and $35 billion in personal income if tax rates weren't changed. So that would mean the people would have $10 billion more of wealth to use, and the state and the government could also have $10 billion more to use on their programs. So we need a bigger pie. The question is how? Well, since the private sector is the one that creates the wealth, that funds, that creates the tax revenue, we have to address the four major needs of the private sector. The first is the private sector needs a stable money supply. They need access to natural resources. They need the ability to accumulate capital and the freedom to buy, sell, try, and fail. Government has a role in all four of these activities. The first is a stable monetary system, because the government can destroy the money system. So it must have balanced budgets and not inflate the currency, where the value of the money shrinks and is in reality another form of taxation. Government's second role is to allow access to natural resources. If the private sector is denied access to public and private lands for logging, mining, energy production, manufacturing, agricultural, and fisheries, then the economy starts to fall apart. Because all economies are built upon the big six. We need agriculture for food, we need mining for minerals, and we need logging for wood products. We need fisheries obviously for the fish and other things that come from the ocean. We need energy to fuel our activities, and we need manufacturing to put the raw materials together. So the big six form the foundation of the economy. Without this foundation, the economy struggles. If with this foundation, then we have service industries built upon that, and government built upon all of the private sector. And this is what a healthy economy looks like, with a balance between natural resource industries, service industries, and government. Our current economic system is unhealthy. We have a shrinking big six. The service industries are quite large, and government has grown beyond its what can be supported by the private sector. So let's look at our economy. And we've got production versus the consumption of wealth. There's more wealth being consumed than produced. So there's more people at the table wanting to eat than there are in the workforce producing the goods. And as Stephen Moore said about the United States, there are nearly twice as many people working for government than in all of manufacturing, which is almost the exact reversal of the situation in 1960, when there were 15 million working in manufacturing and only 8.7 million collecting a paycheck from government. It gets worse. More Americans work for government than work in construction, farming, fisheries, forestry, manufacturing, mining, and utilities combined. We have moved decisively from a nation of makers to a nation of takers. So economic growth requires more private sector activity, less government spending, and there's no other way to grow the economy. Third role of government is to allow the private sector to accumulate capital. So the government can't have real high tax rates, where it takes the wealth away from the wealth-producing segment of society and moves it over to government that simply consumes it. Finally, there has to be freedom to buy, sell, try, and fail. If there are the extensive regulations that deny or delay action by the private sector to the extent that production is curtailed, then the economy stalls out also. Even though there are people willing to work, regulations have the tendency of telling people, no, we won't let you work. We won't let you develop a house or a piece of property. We won't let you use this natural resource. So how is our government doing right now? Not too well. What needs to be done? We need to grow with the private sector by reducing taxes, reducing regulation, reducing government spending, and opening up our natural resources.